Okay, it's now 7 o'clock. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the May 17th meeting of the Warren Zoning Board of Review. First matter is the roll call and determination that we have a quorum of members. I am the chair, Andrew Ellis. To my right is Jason Raynone, Jason Nystrom, the vice chair, Barrett Colby, Michael Elves, who is an alternate member, and Chuck Thibodeau. We do, in fact, have a quorum. Mr. Elves, as the alternate, will participate, may ask questions, and is available should anyone need to recuse, or if a matter is continued, he would be able to participate in future hearings. The first matter we have is the minutes. Approval of them from the last meeting of April 19th. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of the minutes as circulated.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the minutes from April 19th are approved. There is no old business this month, so we will be going directly to new business. And first we have application 2207, Stephen and Theodora Papa, owners and applicants, 42 Maple Street, plat 15C, lot 7. There's a request to for an extension of a dimensional variance under 3277 to construct an addition and farmer's porch with less than required front and side yard setbacks, and to exceed the maximum lot coverage on a legal non-conforming lot in the R10 zoning district. Good evening.
Good evening.
You are Stephen Papa?
Yes.
Yes, and you were here a year ago approximately.
Correct, yes.
And so just tell us briefly, we're not going to relitigate this matter.
Well,
It's
basically,
why you haven't been able to complete.
basically, when I first came last year was to see what you allowed me to do. And I own a business on Block Island, so after that, I went to Block Island and kind of got put on the back burner. This winter, I've been trying to find contractors and pricing, and pretty much that's where I'm at. So I found a few people, but they're not till after the summer. So, and I know it ends next month, I believe. So
Yeah, so we can grant you 6 months of extension
Okay.
in order to pull your permit.
okay,
You don't have to finish the construction in 6 months, but you must have the project permit. If you don't get your permit within 6 months of this extension, you would have to come back to the board and we'd have to rehear the case.
okay. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And a clarification for the solicitor, it is 6 months from the normal expiry date on. Okay. So
I
they
think
would,
it
that
was
was
recorded the day after I signed it.
right. So then June 15th is when it would expire, and he has 6 months from then, not 6 months from today.
Yeah,
So it'll be from June 15th, 6 months. Okay.
so
Correct.
December 15th.
Okay.
Are there any questions from the board as to why this extension is needed?
Down here.
Okay. Is there anyone in the public who wants to comment on whether or not this extension should be granted? No. Is there any other information you want to share about why you need an extension for this? We've heard that, you had
No,
difficulty
just-
finding contractors. You have.
Yeah, it was just like I said, like I said, again, I have a business on Block Island, and when you go to Block Island, when you go to the zoning, it's no before yes. So I came with more than what I've done. So I don't know, it's the first time I'm doing something in the town. So I know from years of Block Island, it's always no before yes. So I didn't know what you would allow me to do. And then as soon as I came off the island today from opening, and I'm going back tomorrow. So pretty much I wasn't here all summers. I'm not here in the summers. And when I came back in October to try to find contractors and then the pricing and stuff like that. So kind of just ran a little bit too late.
All right. Any other questions from the board? Oh, we will note, Mr. Francis has joined us also as an alternate member. Thank you. There were no further questions. Is there a motion on this application?
I can, Go ahead.
No, I want to jump.
I thought,
There's not specific.
Go for it.
We don't have to go through the standards again. Yeah, just why there was cause for, So again, we don't have to relitigate all the standards, just why is it legitimate that he needs this?
I make a motion to approve application 2207, Stephen Theodora Papa, owners and applicants of 42 Maple Street, plat map 15C, lot 7, for a request for an extension of dimensional variance for 6 months.
Yeah.
From the date of,
From the date it was recorded.
from the date it recorded, due to the fact that he was unable to find contractors and get the project going.
Okay, are there
In a-
any conditions or amendments to that motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is passed 5-0. So you have 6 months from the date it was recorded to get your permit. So hopefully you're able to accomplish that.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
The next matter is application 2319. Frederick Maycook, McCooch, owner and applicant, 791 Main Street, plat map 7, lot 78. The request for a special use permit to convert half of an existing garage to an accessory dwelling unit in the R10 zoning district. Just before we begin, Mr. Solicitor, are there any pertinent updates for the recently revised state laws regarding these accessory structures that should be reviewed again?
Just a kind of a refresher, there can't be a restriction in terms of family. The 600 square feet that we currently use for the in-law apartment. 600 feet, so for things, it's still good, still valid, as the town believes it's reasonable. And a little different here is within the new law, so municipalities may allow ADUs in primary or accessory structures that are lawfully established, pre-existing non-conforming to a special use permit and not required variance. In other words, you're gonna see tonight that this garage may not be conforming, pre-existing non-conforming. And you may ask why you don't need a dimensional variance, because the new law says they don't need it, they just need a special use permit, and that's why he's here tonight.
All right, so whatever standards are in the ordinance with respect to the accessory dwelling unit would be applicable, but we don't need any variances. Correct. The structure is pre-existing.
Correct.
Okay. If you'd like to state your name and address for the record, so the stenographer can make sure she records
Yeah,
that.
Frederick McCooch, thank you for hearing us tonight. Oh, I'm
Your
sorry,
address is
791 Main Street.
791 Main Street. And can the two of you just identify if you're going to testify?
I'm Paige McCooch, Frederick's daughter.
And then you can tell us what upload is for testing.
All right. Are you okay? Did you get that or do you need him to repeat it?
Okay, it's SANTIAGO, SAURA FLORES. I have two left.
And assuming that the additional dwelling is for you guys,
Yep.
where do you currently reside?
On the property.
Oh, okay.
All right, so give us an overview of what you'd like to do with this garage.
They wanted to build a tiny house in the backyard, and so I suggested using my space in the garage. So basically, we would take half the garage and convert it into a small ADU for them to stay in.
Can you describe the current living circumstances? Is it the size of the existing primary residence that makes it necessary to sort of move outside and give them a dedicated space of their own? Is
Yeah,
it-
get them out of the house and give me some personal space. No, the regular house is, it's 3,200 square feet, it has 6 bedrooms. We run it basically right now as a Airbnb. It's not a, it's a private room Airbnb, one of only 2 in the town, so we don't take up any extra living spaces on the town or anything like that. So my wife and I like to run the business. It would be a lot easier if they weren't in it. So it's just so that and obviously they're trying to buy a house, but that's kind of hard right now. They're just starting out.
So the purpose of the dwelling unit is for them to live in. It's not going to be an additional
I
Airbnb.
should have just said that. Yeah,
It's for them.
yeah, definitely.
do we have anything with relating to the the short-term rental?
I think you're right,
issues?
that the max what's allowed in that particular property as is regulation in place. Correct.
Yeah, so I would just take into consideration and just to notify the applicant that they are at the max of what they can have for an Airbnb. So in the future, if you were to hopefully find a house and move out, you can't Airbnb this and the house.
Correct. We don't.
And the other issue just to take into consideration is parking. To make sure that they have proper parking for the accessory dwelling, the main dwelling, as well as the Airbnb, because per the ordinance, they have to have off-street parking and it's a one-bedroom. I just did the inspection a couple of weeks ago. It's a one-bedroom, so that would be one car that they would have to have.
Yeah.
And do we-
If we could put 6 to 10 cars in driveway. So it's-
Just have to put it on the record.
Yeah, and so, and I don't know, do we have codified standards for the parking for the Airbnb?
Yes. And
How many is required?
so that's, they have a one bedroom, so you would need one parking spot. They do have it. I just want to make sure that they have, that it's on the record, that they know they have to allow for parking for the main house, the Airbnb, and the accessory dwelling.
You know, how many parking spaces is that in total that they need on the property? Like
Uh,
how many do they need for the Airbnb?
The Airbnb is one.
One for all 6 bedrooms?
No, no, it's one bedroom.
We're only renting out one bedroom that's private.
Oh, I thought,
They share the house with us. They see me eat dinner,
okay, I
Yeah.
thought when you said you had 6 bedrooms,
It's
there
not
were
a-
6 Airbnb.
no, the house is, like, I was telling you how big the house is.
Oh,
You asked
okay.
me, so what the house was like.
So there's one Airbnb unit.
Yeah.
So
And then there's the main U, right, in the house, and then there's this accessory dwelling, right?
Correct.
All right, and so we have evidence that the driveway, you said holds 6 to 10 vehicles.
I can see a picture on Google Earth and I'm familiar with the property. It has a vast driveway.
Okay,
There's about.
driveway,
Yeah.
jealousy.
Yeah.
all right. So we've established you have parking, and they're going to be parking within the parking that you have in the driveway, right? They're not gonna park in the street or something.
Yeah, well, when we still have one garage space, will be left over.
The accessory dwelling unit would be sharing the same utilities as the main house.
Yes.
This is more of a question for the building official, given that there is still half the space is going to be used as the continued use as the garage. Are there any sort of concerns about having a residence in the same physical structure where we'll have an internal combustion vehicle?
Yeah, so there is, you can approve this evening if you do, but there are some building code issues that will have to be met. With,
We would condition that upon building.
I just wanted to know if there was something that, on its face, this is going to be an issue we need to address right now. Obviously, if it's to be approved, it'll be subject to all
yeah, I mean,
those.
it's something that's can be done. They're gonna have to meet the building code requirements, which is stricter than just building the normal.
Yeah.
If the garage wasn't there, it would be different. It wouldn't be as strict of a building code. So
And I understand all that. That's okay.
Yes.
Any other questions at this precise moment?
Do we know what the total square footage is going to be?
240, and then there's a storage area.
Yeah, it's like a lot.
Storage area.
Storage, that is like another 200. So in total, it would be less than 500.
you know the dimensions of it? Is it like 10 by 20?
The garage, it's the whole entire garage or just the unit? The unit. It would be 11/6 by 24.
6 by
Is that about right?
Yeah, it's 24 by 24, so kind of that.
Yeah, pull it outside.
Well, the unit would be 11 feet 6 wide, right?
Say that again?
10, 15, 20. So I'm just trying to figure out what the square footage is for the unit. It's 240 something. I think.
You said the current garage is 24 by 24?
Yeah. The entire garage is 24 by 24. We're splitting it down the middle.
60. So if it's going to be less, if this is going to be less than, was it 600? Is that going to be an issue?
No,
it has to be
less than.
It can't
Gotcha.
be, it can't be more than 600.
I just want to make sure, okay.
276 or so.
Or is that for the accessory and the in-law, or is that only the in-law?
So the town's ordinance, that is one of the only areas that specifies accessory dwelling units. And it has to be in law, applies to that and kind of converts that, takes away the family relationship. Now we no longer have the in-law part of it, and that's what we're applying tonight.
Do we
Gotcha. So technically speaking, in-law apartments don't exist. They're all accessory dwelling units.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Do we have the text of that? This new ordinance?
We don't.
We don't, okay.
The law itself.
Can you repeat that, what you just said?
What's that?
What can you read?
I said, do we have the text of the new ordinance that defines what rules we're supposed to be going by? I don't think it's in the zone.
So just for the record, it's not an ordinance, it's state law. So we still have our ordinance that was in effect originally, but the state law now contradicts our ordinance.
All right, so there's nothing updated that we can add in our ordinance that redefines.
And I just basically compare what we currently have versus state law versus what's being applied for tonight.
And which section are you looking at in our current ordinance that we're referring to?
It's section 32-132,
132.
which is the in-law section. Again, if we just cross out in-law, we apply those standards.
No, because we didn't have a separate,
Correct.
the in-law was the only type of thing we had for another dwelling. We didn't have any other kind of. Yeah, it. All right, so the only thing we're not doing then is the family relationship. But the rest of this is relevant. Is that true?
It's not true.
No, the rest is not.
For example, yeah, the wall in common.
Oh,
the
the-
law says it can be actually a garage.
A separate
Yeah.
building. So is there a planned amendment to this? So we have
So this is-
clearer language?
The
in
town
here?
is currently in the process, the late stages actually of updating the comprehensive.
We've been in those stages since I started.
And the whole time, I think we're getting, we're probably about a seventh inning or something. But reality is, it's getting to the point where it's gonna be proposed to the town council. And then if they adopt it out, it's gonna be several changes, possible changes in the zoning. And I think that's gonna be an overall or a re-examination of what we currently have. And just update it, we do it once, we do it right, and this way we're not constantly going back and updating different ordinances.
So I'll be retired by the time that. All right,
And maybe a different solicitor.
all right. So essentially, this is an accessory dwelling. We're treating it under some of the provisions of the in-law. Some of the things no longer apply for the state law. Does everyone have a general understanding of what it is we're dealing with here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's an accessory dwelling, but it's still, they would still have to be family members. in order to
No.
use it Because of the Airbnb.
No, they don't need family members. It can be anybody.
Okay, but they couldn't use it as an Airbnb scenario because they're already fully maxed out at the house.
So they can, if they make this the Airbnb
And not the house.
and not the house.
How many are there allowed? One?
You're only allowed one Airbnb. So in this situation, you're only allowed one. It's 50% rule, so it's 50% of the dwelling units on the property. So if you have 4 dwelling units, 2 can be Airbnb. However, there is a grandfather clause, but they don't fall underneath it. So in this situation, they would be allowed 1. So I don't think this is their intent right now, but they can eventually petition the town to move the Airbnb that's inside to this dwelling.
So one building can be used as the Airbnb.
No, 1 livable unit.
One livable unit. So even though he's got 6 bedrooms, that counts as one livable unit.
Mhm.
There's only 1 kitchen and 1 whatever bathroom.
Because we're a private room, we don't even supply a kitchen to the people.
Oh, you don't even, it's just a
Yeah,
room.
it's totally different than the private room is totally different than what most people do in town when they rent out an entire apartment.
So they're only renting 1 room.
1 bedroom.
But just again, to be clear, and I understand what you're saying, so just to be clear for the record, the ordinance states a livable unit, so I understand what you're saying, but yes, 1 unit that has cooking, toilet facility, and bedroom. So that 1 bedroom can be, you can't rent out all those bedrooms, so it's 1 bedroom. So that property has 1 unit on it. In the future, this dwelling unit that you potentially are gonna approve tonight could become the short-term rental, but the house wouldn't be able to be short-term rental.
Gotcha.
They got to choose one or the other.
Okay.
And do we ever receive the text of that thing?
I can send it to you. I just didn't, I'll send it to you. It was probably an oversight that the zoning board would, I'll get it to you.
It'd be useful to have in case these things come along, so we know what we're talking about. All right, so,
And one other,
yeah,
and there is other restrictions to that accessory dwelling. It has to be over 20,000 square feet, right, for the land?
2,000.
So 20,000 square feet provision is if your lot is in an R20 or greater, right? You
Right.
can't be in an R10 with 20,000, you gotta be in that zone, R20 or greater. You're permitted by right, and you don't have to come before this board for a special use permit. But this particular property is not within that residential district.
Okay, well, they have 20,000 anyway, so
R10,
it's another 10,
you need a zone.
right? Okay.
yes, I think it would be helpful to have some kind of text of something that we can use as a guide.
I will have that to you before the end of the evening.
Okay,
That's what I want to say.
so it's your representation that you're meeting all the relevant criteria that would enable you to do this and maintain your Airbnb room as well as your house. Okay.
Pretty straightforward, really.
Seems to be.
Yeah.
Let me just ask if anyone in the public wants to comment on this application. Not seeing any. The other questions about converting half of this garage into an accessory residential unit? Do you have any other information you want to share with us about this proposal?
No, I don't. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Is there a motion on this application?
I can make one, just give me a sec. Yeah. Get buried with the rest of the papers. I move approval of application number 23-19. Frederick McCooch, owner and applicant, 791 Main Street, plat map 7, lot 78, for special use permit to convert half an existing garage to an accessory dwelling unit in the R10 zoning district. In granting approval, we find that the special use will be compatible with the neighboring land uses. Being in the village in this part of town, many of the homes in that area have similar type apartments. Similar type of living arrangements where structures have been chopped up into varying pieces. I do find it will be compatible with what is existing in the area. We find that the special use will not create a hazard in the neighborhood. Whenever we are adding additional housing stock, parking is always a concern. And there's been testimony and representations made today that due to the size of the parking, I'm not going to call it a parking lot, but the size of the driveway area provides ample parking for the primary unit, this proposed accessory dwelling unit, as well as the short-term rental. We find that that in granting the special use permit, it will be compatible with the community comprehensive plan. Again, this is putting a large property to work in the town, is in fact improving the housing stock in the town, specifically to allow Mr. McCuch's daughter and son-in-law to live with them. And we do find the public convenience and welfare will be served for those very same reasons. In granting this approval, we do note that this accessory dwelling unit does meet all the requirements for such a unit, and as further conditions, we maintain that in building this unit, all health, safety, and fire regulations and building codes must be followed.
Okay, are there any amendments or other conditions on the motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion is passed 5-0. So you can proceed with meeting the building official to go through the permitting process.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
The next matter is application 2320. Arthur and Lisa Franco, owner and applicant, 5 Country Road, plat 22, lot 180 and 181. To request for a dimensional variance to construct an accessory structure in the front yard in the R40 zoning district. Good evening. If you can just identify yourself for the stenographer.
My name's Arthur Franco and I reside at 5 Country Road.
Okay. If you could give us an overview of what it is you want to do with this accessory structure and why you need a variance. Okay.
So what I'm looking for is to put up this structure. It's essentially 20 by 30, the little garage. I have a small hobby farm where I reside, where I rescue animals, neglected, abused. So this facility is going to be to house my tractor pretty much, and any dry goods or anything associated with my mini farm. Is basically, there will be no utilities hooked up to this. It's strictly a structure to keep things dry.
Okay. And what is the reason for citing it in this location on the property?
So I have the 2 lots there. The second lot, which is 99% all wetlands, I'm not allowed to put anything on it. And based on my property, because I own pretty much, it's a cul-de-sac, it wraps all the way around, and where this building's going to be located is actually at the cul-de-sac. I'm the last house on the left on Country Road. And this is where I'd like to put it, being that it's going to be a garage where I can access, like I said, my equipment. It's an ideal spot for myself.
So are you saying that the second lot is all wet? You can't build on it at all?
That's correct. That's correct.
So I have a question. The siting of this structure, there's an indication that there's a 20-foot drainage easement, and it looks like the structure is on top of that easement. Is that permitted under the terms of the easement?
That's been addressed. Once I had the surveyor there, that's how he drew it up. He asked me where I wanted it. And then when I met with the town, I did know there was an easement there, which is a drainage. There's actually the end of the cul-de-sac, and it drains into my property. So what I did, I notified the surveyor. He readjusted, recalculated, situating, and there should be a copy because I had him email it to the town.
The updated site plan.
Oh, that's this guy?
And he relocated it
Yes.
to the right, approximately 10 to 15 feet.
Okay.
And that would require me merging both lots, and that's what I'm doing with the town.
Okay.
So you're going through an administrative merge to make them both the same?
That is absolutely correct, sir.
All right. I don't think, am I correct that that would not keep us from doing this since they're under the same ownership, so we could merge them for the purpose of zoning?
And then so the new position of the structure, how far from the property line is the structure now? It looks like it's further from the property line.
So it's going to be essentially on the second lot that we're merging.
And how far will it be from the road?
Whatever the setback is, the engineer already marked it for me. I believe it's 10 feet.
Yeah, so the accessory structure over 120 square feet, which is, this is over 120. Right, it needs to be at least 10 feet from the line. So the new position is going to be 10 feet from the road or wherever the property.
That's correct, sir. And if, at the property, he did mark it. It is some, steel rods.
Okay.
Actually, that would make sense because it's.
What's the white fence?
Not in the easement.
What's that?
What's that white little corral that's there?
That is just for my mini horses. So on Sundays when the weather's good, I let them graze there. And I'm not quite sure yet if I'm keeping that. It all depends.
Is that where the building's going?
No, it'll be to the left of that, sir.
To the left of that?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, I get the, depending on the weather, that's just another little corral for the minis to graze.
So the only variance we need, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that this accessory structure is technically what would be considered the front yard. It's going to be the proper distance away from the property line, as he's testified to, so we don't have a problem there. It's just that it's because the property line is a circle, the front yard kind of follows all the way around the
That's correct.
circle. And you're not supposed to have an accessory in a front yard, but this is a rather unique circumstance. So I think that's pretty clear. And it looks like, I believe there's a line on here that's marked BOB. Is that the boundary of the wetland area?
Right. I
So I can
have,
see there's only a small wedge of space in that second lot that's usable right up near the cul-de-sac.
that's correct. I do have a larger version from, the survey, if
Oh,
you'd like to
that-
take a look, because I know straining our eyes,
That's just,
other than the building has been moved.
yeah.
I think that's a little more legible or easy on the eyes.
So it looks like the new location is going to be better, because it looks like the original one may not have been, well, it's hard to tell. It may not have been 10 feet from the road, but now it certainly is with where you split it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
And so the purpose of this accessory structure is for your hobby farm use,
That's absolutely correct.
right? No, there's not a business that's gonna operate out of it.
Absolutely. In my farm, I don't produce, I don't kill. This is forever homes for neglected, abused animals, and it's just a passion of mine. And that's strictly what it's for. And I welcome you gentlemen if you'd like to stop by.
You had said that the purpose of the building was to house your tractor. Where is the tractor kept now?
In the back, in the elements.
Okay,
It is a new tractor I just purchased.
gotcha.
And it looks, I mean, you're obviously not even close to the lot coverage maximum. You've got plenty of, particularly with these merged, you've got plenty of area on the property here. And there's no numerical limit on the number of accessory structures one property can have. Is that true?
I believe actually there is.
Because there's
one.
Because I mean, I see a sunroom, a shed, an animal containment area, a hay storage structure. Do we need to consider relief from quantity of accessory structures?
Let's just write that, it's only one allowed.
Here's the hay storage structure.
If in fact, that building says.
Allowing one except,
It was allowed. Shed here. So not that it's.
yeah, I mean. I think we've allowed like a second shed or so, or a shed in the garage or something. All right,
You see it history.
so we're just looking at the number of different accessories.
Okay.
If we have to put some language in there.
And I'm just saying that's.
Is there any, Mr. Bill? Is there anything about animals on the property, like with the ducks or what geese or whatever about the other, what are the people or chickens or whatever it was? Is there anything pertaining to how many animals and the buildings associated with animal keeping?
I have to actually talk to the legal counsel about that one.
Okay.
Two ducks, one goose. Yeah. Actually, what do you have on there? You have your horses, how many sheep or goats?
I have 2 miniature horses, 2 mini donkeys, 3 Nigerian dwarfs, 5 chickens, and 2 ducks, and 2 cats.
Two cats,
They're barn cats.
barn cats.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
there's no issue when it comes to.
Okay. Well, I mean, this thing, I didn't think there would, I mean, this building's for the tractor anyways. It's not involving animal housing, so it's not really not relevant. I just want to make sure there wasn't anything in general we have to consider for the property.
And what kind of tractor was it you got?
A Mahindra. I've been
Mahindra.
dying for one. They're so expensive. But I got a good deal. The John Deere's is what I really wanted, but what they want for it, take a second mortgage out.
A lot of attachments.
No, I just basically got I wanted the bucket and then a little backhoe. That's basically all I need. You know, I could maneuver cleaning the pastures and hay and.
We can have as many. as we want. All right. So, okay, well, so we can have as many accessory structures as you want on the property, provided it's within the lot coverage, which clearly this is. Are there other questions about this tractor building?
Only question I have for the applicant, and I apologize, I don't want to make you repeat yourself. I was just looking through it. Again, really, what is the reason again that it needs to be placed here in the front yard? What we're considering the front yard as far as opposed to like somewhere else on the property.
Because I just don't have the room and where I wanted to put the easement falls into place. So that's why I had to scooch it over. And then I was told I would be better off merging both lots. And I'm willing to do that. I'm in the process of doing that. And just it makes more sense for me having this, you know, again, being close to the road is a good thing, and also close enough where I can get to the back to the animals, rather than, I don't want to have the room, but for example, if I had it way back in the backyard, I mean, it wouldn't work. You know, this way, it's an ideal spot. And I think I'm following.
And it's a metal building, is that correct?
It is.
And do the neighbors have any problem with that?
No, I actually spoke to all my neighbors. Once they got notified, I addressed them. Each step of the way as I went along, starting my little hobby farm, I know them all. My good neighbor next door, Mr. Souza, he too has a little mini horse and some goats, and we're very good friends. Neighbors across the street. We go out to dinner once a week. Well, we're really tight, so they all know exactly what's going on.
All right, and so just so we get on the record, the sighting of this thing near the front, you want to have access to the road for the tractor, that sighting it out the back is not practical because it doesn't have the road access.
That is right, sir.
Okay,
So you're gonna drive down this cul-de-sac and what you're gonna see is a metal building. You have a house on the left, up on the hill, and then a house on the right, sort of there, and then you're gonna have a metal building right there. I don't know what the future is, but on the other hand, if it's non-buildable, it's all wet and you're merging the lots, you know, it's a toss-up to me. I'm not.
And if I may just add, the building that's being designed, it's going to mimic the home. That's my whole intent. I didn't want it to be an eyesore. So it's going to have the same color of my siding, which is the Cape Cod gray with the white siding in the black roof. So it's not going to be an eyesore metal. Again, it's 30 long, 20 deep.
Yeah, because I think that's one, and my one concern is just since it's going to be in the front yard, as you're driving down the lot, down the road with the residences, you know, we don't want it to look like an industrial park, you know,
Well,
but it sounds like you're trying to take some steps to beautify it.
Well, to answer your question, sir, you wouldn't be driving down the road because remember, it's a cul-de-sac. I'm the last house. It's a dead end. So you're not going to have thorough traffic.
I understand it's still a public road, but I understand what you're saying.
Yes, sir. And I respect that.
And actually, what the thing looks like isn't really relevant to us anyways.
Well, it isn't, it's a metal building in a residential area.
As long as it's within the height limitations, the setbacks, we really don't have any say of what it looks like. There are no standards that allow us to dictate materials or appearance. As long as it sizes per the ordinance. And it's within the height limit. I'm saying, yes.
It's only 8 foot high and the pitch is 12 foot high. So not much taller than a shed, your normal shed.
So the door height's only 8 feet high?
Yes, the 2 roll-ups, 8 by 8. If you'd like to see a copy, I've got the plans here. This is one of 2 companies I'm looking at. If that would satisfy you, I'd be more than happy to share these plans with you so you can see exactly what the building is going to look like. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going with this company, but regardless,
Sure.
this is what it's going to look like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got them, why not?
Why you got them, why not?
No, I just want, you know.
I'm still sick of metal building people, I can tell you.
All right, well, he's looking at that. Is there anyone in the public who wants to offer any input on this matter?
Can't get a friendly
Not
ghost.
seeing any. So I think the sort of the presence of it on the street front, have there been someone in the public who specifically complained about that? Then it could be within our purview to ask for like plantings or screening or something of that nature. But there doesn't appear to be any opposition from the public on the appearance of this structure.
Because that's what I was originally thinking. There was gonna be some concerns, yeah, like light planting, something just to mask or soften it, but yet no one's here, so.
And we really don't impose conditions unless they're in response to something. Are there other questions about this accessory structure?
You had said that the individual that lives across the cul-de-sac from you is aware of the plan and has no objection that.
All my neighbors, there's 5 of us.
Okay.
So you've got Mr. Souza. If you're looking at my home, the Souzas are to the left. Across the street is the Marshalls, young couple. Then diagonally is who's up diagonally? That's Maria and Eric. And then up the road, you have the Primianos. Now, Country Road, as you come down, there's also Jackman Court, which is again another tiny cul-de-sac. And I think there's 2 or 3 little homes there. They're aware of it. And then the only other abutting neighbor would be Mr. Saviano, which his home is technically on Schoolhouse. The back of his
He's the
property-
one that's off in the woods.
That's correct. And my second lot abuts it. And then my property directly behind mine, the town of Warren owns it. I believe there's 9 acres there. It's conservation. And that's it. That's the neighborhood.
And just so we have it on the record, will the position of this structure in any way block sight lines for traffic circulation?
Absolutely not.
Didn't think so. I mean, that would be one of the concerns with why accessory structures aren't generally allowed in the front yard, that if it's blocking like an intersection, if someone can't see to turn, but clearly from the plan presented, there's no traffic circulation that's going to be impacted.
There's no issues. We're also fortunate in that neighborhood. All our utilities are underground. So yeah, there's actually no obstruction for anything, emergency vehicles or et cetera. No obstructions.
Is there other discussion or is someone prepared with a motion?
No, I can make a motion. I will move approval of application 23-20, Arthur and Lisa Franco, owner and applicant, 5 County Road, plat map 22, lots 180 and 181. Request for a dimensional variance to construct an accessory structure in the front yard in an R40 zoning district. For the record, we will note that for the purposes of zoning, we are merging lots 180 and 181 as they are under the same ownership for the purposes of this application. As such, we find that the placement of this structure does qualify for a variance in this instance. The definition of a front yard space becomes a little murky in instances where the lot lines are abutting cul-de-sac. The structure itself is significantly to the side of the primary residence. It does meet all setback requirements, and the siting has been designed to avoid the drainage easement and to ensure that the access to the public road is available for the use and movement of the applicant's tractor. We find that the hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure. This is a curved front lot line, and these two lots cover almost 180 degrees of this cul-de-sac. So the definition of the front yard is a little bit up for grabs. We note that the hardship is not due to any prior action of the applicant. The applicant owns a tractor and has a desire to keep it out of the elements and in good running order, and therefore would like to have a place to be able to keep that indoors or at least under cover. Granting the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area. We have taken testimony that all of the neighbors are comfortable with this plan and that the exterior finishes of this structure will be tailored to match those of the primary structure on lot 180. And the relief granted is the least relief necessary. The structure itself appears to be appropriately sized. It meets all height and sizing requirements. And if this variance were not to be granted, it would qualify as more than just a mere inconvenience, as the applicant would then be forced to keep his expensive tractor equipment outdoors in the elements, therefore reducing its usable life.
Is it possible?
yes.
I have a question, is if, are we requiring these dimensions right now, or can we say that could be a little higher? He said 12 feet.
He has to be within the ordinance.
Within the ordinance, so he could go 14 feet high at 9 or 10-foot door,
I mean, he can go higher, but he'd have to come back.
higher than this 12.
No,
feet.
if he goes higher than the ordinance
Right.
allows, he'd have to come back, but he can build any height he wants,
Up to the ordinance.
any size that he wants, up to the maximum lot coverage, which you couldn't really achieve with the structure because the lot's so big. And within the setbacks, and he's met the setbacks, he's over 10 feet from the property line. The only thing that's not complying is the fact that it's technically in what's called the front yard. But everything else,
Right.
he's, of course, so whether he decides to make it 20 by 30 or 20 by 60 or 20 by 30, whatever, it doesn't really matter. So long as he respects the terms of the ordinance or comes back with a new application.
I just wanted to make sure of that.
So
I
you-
recommend a condition approval of the merger.
Yeah, I think that's a good condition,
Oh, yes.
that the merger is
Two lots
allowed.
successfully merged and approved by.
Is that necessary if we can merge them by zone for the purposes of zoning anyway? He owns them both.
Yeah, correct. It's just easier for the record.
Oh,
If
okay.
it's done through application versus just the ordinance says.
Gotcha. So we will make this motion or make the variance approval contingent on the administrative merging of the two lots into a single.
I've already filled out that application and submitted my payment, so I'm assuming that's happening internally.
All right, great, very good. Are there other conditions or amendments? Is there a second?
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? As the motion is passed 5-0. So you can proceed with your merger and then meet with the building official when you're ready to permit your structure.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and the stuff.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Just under the administrative thing, Matt and Ben, it would be helpful to have some kind of bullet points to illustrate not just the in-law thing, but where there are things that are not relevant that we're reading out of the book because state law or something else is. I mean, it doesn't have to be line by line, but some of the major points of things that are no longer applicable.
I did actually, I think I'll go off.
Yeah.
That'd be a big help.
Unfortunately,
we're still trying to, the state just passed this law, threw it on us, and then now it's literally, stuff comes to me, and I have to call the solicitor and say, what do we do here? Because, I mean, ultimately, I think eventually we're gonna have to adopt state law, because it completely contradicts this contradiction. Right?
It is a gray area where it says that the current restrictions are reasonable.
Oh, yay, vagary.
The current restrictions are.
Keep the lawyers involved.
Is the 600 square feet max reasonable? The town has taken a position now that it is a reasonable, however, everything else is reasonable. In terms of dimensional variances, in terms of.
Well, how come the family thing isn't reasonable then? Who made
That's
that?
right in the law.
Oh, it says specific.
That's specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you adjourn and then we'll discuss.
Okay,
Oh,
all right. Is
yeah.
there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we're